Hello, everybody. Good evening. Hope your week is off to a good start. My name is Kathleen Sinnott, and this is the BA Zone Live. We are just getting everything set up. This is the pre-show, and we kind of work out all the kinks and say hello to everybody, give you a chance to go and get a beverage, get comfy, and maybe invite a friend or two to join us. We're going to be talking about medical terminology tonight and give some tips to BAs out there who are either entering the healthcare medical area or already working in it and maybe struggling a little bit with the terminology. I do need to check. Mare was on, and now she seems to be gone. So actually, I'm going to, rather than having you look at her kind of frozen there in time, I'm going to just text her real quick while you're there and see where she is. Are you rebooting? Okay, I was a little concerned because she didn't show up for the usual pre-show check that we do. So I'm hoping that she's going to be joining us any second, because if not, we may have to readjust on the fly, as it were, right? Because that's our job, is being all kinds of flexible. Ah, wait, she's moving again. That's good. Are you there, Mare?
I'm there. Is my sound okay?
Oh, much better. Much
There
better.
we go.
Okay.
I just had a reboot.
Rebooting is good.
Yeah.
All right. So we're running. And I've said the general hello to the nice folks out there. And
hello,
now
hello.
I am shuffling the deck chairs as quickly as I can. That's my job, right?
Shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah, that's how it feels some days. It would be fine if I had 8 arms and, maybe 2 bodies and an extra brain every day. But that I need every day, so that's okay. That's not really got anything to do with the show.
How is everybody out there tonight? It's almost time to do spring planting. Almost. It's spring, but you would never know it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be summer.
Yeah, I know. Right to bathing suit weather. No in between. Sound level's still good? We okay?
Yes, except that I'm hearing 6 of me, so give me a second. You just keep going while I try to figure out why that's happening.
The bumblebee
you're
effect?
Fine. I've got like 6 of us in my head right now, so that I need to fix. I have enough voices in my head. I don't need extras. All right. Say something for me. Oh,
Test 1, 2, 3.
No.
Test 1, 2, 3. What'd you do?
I didn't touch anything. It's all the same as it was. Let's see. How about now?
Test 1, 2, 3.
Okay, that seems all right now. It's the same setting it was when I started. It just needed a little love.
There you go.
Okay, what are we doing here? Okay, good. We got a couple of minutes.
You've got 4 minutes, hon.
I like that. Present. Get this ready. So yeah, well, they're saying it's supposed to be like 70 degrees this weekend.
Yes, and maybe even an 80 degree before it goes right back down to nothing.
Oh, jeez. Well,
no, I think it's going to be good. We're going to be fine now. It's going to stay up.
It just it all just keeps changing and rearranging with no real pattern to it.
Yeah.
I just had snow again the other day. Wasn't a lot, but it was snow. It qualified as a winter event. Okay.
Tinker went and got his hair cut yesterday.
Aww.
No, he's not with me now.
Oh, okay.
He's downstairs. I should have brought him up so you could see.
Yeah, I like the puppy's haircuts.
Little cutie patootie.
Does he still like getting his hair done with the sight problem?
Yeah, he was shaking a lot actually when he went this time, but I think it's more because his vision's kind of shot, but he's okay. He's fine.
It's not easy being Tink.
No.
Alrighty. I think we are live everywhere we need to be. Woohoo!
Yay.
I will take that for the win. Let's see. Are we going to get lucky enough to have Periscope comments? It looks like we are going to have Periscope comments. Yay!
Ooh,
Welcome, MK.
the stars
Creations.
are aligning.
TK. Let us know what you want to be called. Is you want to be called MK Creations or you want to be called TK? We're all kinds of flexible. All right, so yes, we're up on Periscope, we're up on Facebook, and we are up on YouTube. And one of these times we're going to have to start a little earlier so I can try to balance your color because you're kind of yellow again.
I'm kind of yellow again? Is it my liver?
I hope not. That would mean you'd have to stop having fun. Nobody wants that to happen.
Welcome, everybody. We're just going to be getting started in 2 minutes. You are at the BA Zones Live pre-show, where we're checking all the dials and checking the sound and obviously not the lighting because I am a little yellow. But we'll be getting going tonight, and tonight's subject is a continuation of BAs in the healthcare domain, and we're going to be talking about medical terminology, lingo and other hieroglyphics, and how you can manage your way through that sort of domain, the healthcare domain. So we just have 1 minute to go and make sure that we start on time. Thanks for joining us. I have no jokes this evening, so just winging it.
You need somebody to come in and tickle you so you feel funny?
Yeah, I need something going on. I just got finished eating.
That sounded ominous.
Did you just ever finish? I know. Did you ever just finish dinner and you've got this schmutz? It's like, that's a medical term, schmutz.
Well, that's my problem these days because with the adjusted time, like I'm inhaling something because this is the first time I get to eat all day. And so, yes, I start the show feeling less than well. And I hope it doesn't go past that.
And I hope not either, because we are ready to go. It's go time.
Okay.
Welcome everyone again to the BA Zones live show. Tonight we're going to be talking about medical terminology and how you can sort of understand it or get through it and what you need to know about it. And we have our little slide there with all our places that you can contact us, Kathleen. I can just get that out of the way.
Right there. Let me take your name off so they can see everything.
Yeah.
I should probably take you off Pip too. There we go. That way
there you go. You can find us on Twitter.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So you can go to our website, which is thebazone.com. You can find us on Twitter. We are the BA Zone there also. Actually, we're the BA Zone everywhere except YouTube. We haven't gotten our vanity URL yet because we don't have enough followers and likes. So come on, invite your friends. Go to YouTube and hit the like. I think it's the likes and the follows that we need. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube. And when all else fails, if you're looking for help and you can't find us on any of the others, just go to thebazone.com. There's a contact form there. I also put an embed with the live show, so if you don't want to remember all the places we are, you can just go to the BA Zone and you can follow us, everything that we're doing right there. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. So we'll just get right into it. Tonight we're going to be learning the vocabulary and some of the key phrases of the industry that you're working on, some of the challenges that can occur with medical lingo and healthcare terminology in general. And we're going to help you get through those and discuss some of those concepts. So let's get started with that. And we're going to start off with just talking about, some of the challenges that happen with medical jargon, healthcare jargon, data, and actually healthcare literacy. So as far as jargon goes, everybody in their own particular domain has almost their own type of language. So if you went to the finance sector, they have their own sort of language going on. And healthcare has a huge scope of different verbiage and different types of terminology. And it's because it touches a lot of different pieces. So for example, you could have clinical terminology, everything to do with the biology of the body, oncology terms, which would be sort of like, neoplasms and leukemia and cardiology. And you'll hear things like CHF and MI and infectious disease with quarantine and C. diff. C. diff's a very bad thing. You don't ever want that. And then you get into symptom assessments where, you're actually checking pain level, nausea, numbness. There's diagnostic lab testing type of jargon or terminology that they use you'd hear CBCs, colonoscopies. Everybody's heard of those, and if you're of a certain age, you've probably had one. There's also procedural terminologies, procedures that occur in the hospital. There's pharmacology or pharma terminology, what they say. So that's all around medications and drugs and antibiotics, TPN and IV fluids, a lexicon of terms. There's also the insurance. It touches the insurance industry. So you have to sort of understand at a basic level insurance terminology and eligibility and pre-auth and pre-cert. And then there's the actual billing of services. And there's all types of codes and terms that go with that, ICD-9s, ICD-10s, CPT codes, claims out of pocket. And of course, then you have to add to the mix the actual IT terminology that you're using, and you're trying to disseminate this information across web designers and developers and QA. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, and healthcare is not a static industry. To a degree it is, but there's always new research and something going on, and they're always adding new types of words that are not really fully defined. Excuse me. So it depends on what part of the healthcare sector you're going to be getting into, as far as whether you need to understand claims terminology or benefits terminology. But overall, in the healthcare industry, you have to have an idea of some of the terms, as far as clinical terms. Part of the data challenges around those things are there's inconsistent definitions. There are standards out there, and they work on them more and more, but people do tend to use them inconsistently in particular businesses. And as I said, there's new words added all the time, and they don't right away have standard definitions for them. In addition to that, you could have the same word interpreted differently across different systems within a facility. And we've seen this many times, even with strict clinical applications. Even within the same system, you can have a label on a drop-down list, for example, of like different services or procedures, and it could be labeled something different on the next page with different drop-down lists, and they're absolutely the same thing. So we see a lot of that going on as well. You can have things in the healthcare system in different formats. So it could be anything from paper format, admissions and auths and consents that have to be signed, to on-screen, all the way through to imaging, and how those things can get lost in the translation. And then there's also changing regulatory. Hospitals are run a lot by regulatory agencies and government agencies. And a lot of those type of agencies leave certain things up to interpretation. They don't want to pigeonhole something that might affect a different type of facility. So some things they leave a little loosey-goosey, so to say. So you may get different interpretations of that type of terminology. And then across the board, there's different acronyms, based on your role. And even if you notice, if you've ever been in the healthcare industry, nurses specifically will come up with humorous language all their own to describe patients or different types of symptoms that are occurring with patients. So that in itself is like, what are they talking about? What is going on here? And the third prong to that is literacy. And when I talk about literacy, it could be from the level of the healthcare professionals themselves. They may just be starting out, and their literacy they may not have a full comprehension of everything. And if you're dealing with patients at a patient level, so for example, you may have a clinical application that physicians and nurses are using to create plans of care for a patient. And then you're actually interacting with the patient and giving a patient goals. There are a lot of words that a physician would use that a typical patient's not going to understand at all. And there's different levels of literacy when people are actually reading out there and what they're comprehending. So you kind of have to be aware of that type of problem. And also, there are cultural interpretations that can occur. Things just mean different things by culture. It's just a thing that happens. And those are some of the challenges that we come up with, come up against with, jargon and data challenges and actual literacy. And as a BA, you have to understand how to maneuver all of those and make sure that everybody's being communicated to appropriately. And how you speak to someone could depend on, obviously, it always does, on your audience. So if you're speaking to a patient, if you're speaking to a physician, a nurse, a clinical administrator, you have to sort of be aware of the different types of terminology that can occur within those different groups. And does anybody out there have anything to add on this section? Or Kathleen, do you have anything to add as part of the challenges?
Well, yeah, I mean, making sure that you're speaking the right language to the right person is always a challenge. And particularly when you're dealing with something like this where you may not feel comfortable with it right off the top. So the one thing I tell everybody is, if you don't know, whether you don't know what the word means or maybe you're just not sure how to pronounce it, there's no shame in asking. Somebody in the room probably knows. So if you don't know it, the best way to learn it is to ask, so that next time you'll know and maybe you'll be able to help somebody else out. I see too many people trying to push their way through it. I do that sometimes. And really, the right thing to do would be to ask somebody in the room who knows, because you can't be the subject matter expert on everything every minute of every day. So give somebody else a chance to shine. Let them help you.
There you go.
And while I've interrupted her, let her take a drink. And I'll just remind you that if you are enjoying this content, if you want to make sure you're not missing anything that we do, make sure that you follow and like us. And you can also follow us up by joining the mailing list. That way you'll always get the latest news about what we're doing and what's going on. And if we change things again, you'll be the first to know about it.
Yay.
Alrighty.
Okay. No comments out there, so we'll keep going.
Yeah, no, we're doing good. Everybody's pretty happy, just saying hello and checking in.
Yay. Okay, so what are some of the things you can do as a BA to handle sort of this stuff? And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. What you can do is decode, demystify, and then standardize. As far as the decoding, how you decode medical terminology, first thing you want to do is put it into context. So for example, I'll give you a really great example. I was working one time on a clinical application, and we were talking about an IPA, which is an independent practice association. This is where physicians sign up with an HMO. And we were talking to a BA, and this is sort of a cultural interpretation, which was really quite funny. And this guy he was from India. And I said, "Do you know what an IPA is?" And he responded right away, "Indian Pale Ale." And I was like, well, it is Indian Pale Ale. That's a great acronym for Indian Pale Ale. But so you can see where if you put something into context, we're talking about clinical, we're talking about healthcare. Are we talking about, clinical terminology, or are we talking about claims terminology? So that was one funny incident we had. And then there was another one that was also sort of a literacy level. And it was really, someone had called into, I was working at a medical supply company, I think it was. And someone had called in, and it was that they were looking for a type of, it's a condom actually that's used for urinary issues. And they were asking for this. And I heard the girl on the other side of me saying, no, condoms, no, you have to call a real estate agent for that. And so she was interpreting condoms as condominiums, which happens all the time. But that's just another example of, putting something into context or a level of healthcare literacy that someone doesn't have. And as Kathleen was saying, one of the great things to do to demystify all of these terms is to ask what it means in plain English. And that means even if you have to interrupt someone. A lot of healthcare professionals speaking the way they speak all day long, it just comes second nature to them. And it doesn't even occur to them that you may not understand. They may not even recognize that you don't understand what they're saying. So always interrupt. And if you can't interrupt, you can always look it up. And you want to do that. You want to get a basic understanding of things like, the functions of the body, abbreviations, acronyms, types of providers, whether they're hospitals or skilled nursing facilities, the different labs and tests and procedures, and around health insurance eligibility and billing. And you can also, there's plenty of things you can look up online. Um, Whether a lot of that is correct or not, you have to sort of um, take a chance with that. But there are different books. We had always used a Stedman's Concise Medical Dictionary, and also Taber's or Dorland's have different types of books. And actually, Taber's and Dorland's, from what I understand, I think they have a downloadable app now as well. So that's a trusted source where you can look up information. There are websites out there like MediLexicon that are, trustworthy. And once you get this sort of information, the third thing that you want to do going forward with an application is to standardize wherever you can. So like I was saying, what we were talking about before, if you have, drop down lists on different pages, make sure they match, make sure the terminology is the same and it's correct and it's standardized across the different types of applications. Can you always do this? Not always, because you're not going to be updating every single software system, but you want to get it as close as possible and try to go down the line and get them up and running. It is very important to come up with standard definitions, and what we like to do is involve the staff, make sure we have everything listed out for them and say, is this the appropriate term we should be using? Because we don't want to be doctors ourselves. We don't want to be making those decisions, but you want to show them where there's discrepancies and try to standardize that information as much as possible. And it's just working in the industry long enough, and you pick up a lot of these type of terminology and jargon. And I don't know if anybody out there uses anything else or any other type of stuff. If you do, just drop us a line, drop us a comment, or if you have any questions around that type of information that we were just talking about, as far as decoding and standardizing informations. If you have any questions around that, take a quick little minute to see if anything comes through and see if Kathleen has any entertaining stories. She often wants to. Can't hear you. One momento.
I did that on purpose because I was trying to surprise you, and then didn't you just go there anyway? So I'm in the process of posting some things on Facebook and on YouTube, and for everybody in Periscope, I'll put them on the website a little bit later because it's a little bit bigger of an issue. So that some resources. So it's some Android resources, some iOS resources, and a web resource. If you want to just start to do this, on your own, kind of bone up a little bit, whether you're looking to get into healthcare and medical, or maybe you're in it and you just want to get a little bit better with the terminology, this is a good way to do it, where if you have a couple of seconds, you pick out a term or two, get familiar with it, and then go on with your day. So that's out there. And once again, we want to invite you to follow us, like us, on whatever platform you're watching us on right now, whether you're doing it live or on the replay. That way you'll get notified when we're going to go live. Sometimes I just jump on if I'm doing something, or if I have an idea, or maybe if I feel like venting a little, which I almost did earlier today. So if you want to stay up to date with everything we're doing, that's an easy way to know what we're doing. Another way to do that would be to follow us on the website, which is thebazone.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, all the usual places. We're playing, and the only place we're not on is Snapchat. If that's someplace you want us to be, let us know. I'll figure out how to make that happen too. And if you want to get on the mailing list, because that's where we send out the information first. Those are the people who get the inside scoop before everybody else. So you can go to thebazone.com/mailing list, and we promise not to share or do anything nasty with your information, like certain companies that are on the news right now. I think actually he's still doing his thing in Washington right now. But we're not going to do any of that. We just collect your email information so that we can reach out and let you know what we're doing. Is that it? Did I get everything? I think so. Yes?
Okay.
Alrighty.
And when we're talking about, going out there and picking up terms and starting to understand them, a really great thing to do that I started years ago is to have a glossary on hand. And I mean a glossary that you can actually take and put into your requirements documentation. So a great way to do that is to keep a full glossary of all the terms you're looking up. You put the term and then you put a little definition, and if there's an acronym associated with it, an abbreviation, you add that as well. And then you can also have a third column that tags it as or categorizes it, I should say, as potential information to use for claims, projects that deal with claims processing, projects that deal with clinical applications, the actual clinical part of the application. And then you can just grab those and pop them into your requirements documentation. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you're doing a requirements doc or a technical spec. So that's just a little tip that you can do going forward. So why is all of this important? One of the reasons is that it will promote clinical quality improvements. So you always want to improve clinical outcomes, how nurses and physicians do their job. Can they get through it quickly? Can they get through this application quickly? There's a tremendous amount of documentation that has to occur in healthcare today. So all of this speeds up processes, improves operational processes, and helps for better clinical outcomes if everybody's getting the information the same way all the way through the process. Another important reason to do this and standardize it is interoperability. As I was saying before, if you have a suite of products and they're all calling the same thing different things, you're never going to be able to smoothly interoperate between the systems. Nor will you ever be able to add in, if you merged with another company, you wouldn't be able to merge their product in with yours because there's just too much discrepancy in terminology there. If you're going to, as I said, migrate from one system to another, a software solution, say, it makes it much easier if everything is standardized and everything is defined appropriately. It also promotes better communication between users, between IT and users, between BA and web designers. It just makes things a lot easier. And it's really great for consistent reporting. You're never going to be able to do an avoided utilization review report, which is something that sometimes looks at the use of, for example, emergency room visits over inpatient versus like a physician visit or something. You can't get consistent reporting if you have words meaning different things all over the place. And that's really something that you want to focus on, getting that standardized. And of course, last but not least, you want to be paid. If you're working on a claims project, it's very important that if providers put in claims that they are paid appropriately and nothing goes wrong on that end. And a lot can go wrong if you, as a BA, don't understand the terminology that is being used. And that's it on the important side. Kathleen, do you have anything on the important side or any fun-filled facts for us to discuss?
I just wanted to throw one more out there, and that is, as you build your vocabulary in the domain, you will start to be seen as an expert, which will help your confidence and also will help everybody to see you as an expert again too. So don't be afraid, A, to not know the terms, B, to learn them on the job and ask for help, because C, you will end up being the expert. And people will see that you take the time to learn these new things, and that will also put you in a very good light with the rest of your team. So don't be shy about this. Everybody has to start out someplace. Everybody has to learn. Nobody is born knowing all this terminology, whether it's IT or healthcare or insurance or financial, anything. Everybody had to learn it, so don't be shy about learning it. It's a good thing to keep on learning throughout your career. Not that that's a soapbox of mine or anything.
No, no. And that's true. And you know what? Even if you're speaking to physicians and nurses, they may not really understand other parts of their own process. They really don't. They're
Yeah.
sort of focused on certain things. So it's great. And you will be seen as an expert. And at least they know you can talk to them on their level. But it does take some time to do that. So yeah,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to do that. And let us help you do that as well. If you have any problems or any questions, feel free to drop us a comment or a question, and we'll be happy to answer. We'll be happy to respond.
Yes, and so just to update, so I was able to post the links on Facebook. For some reason, YouTube won't let me do it, and of course, I can't do it on Periscope anyway. So I'm going to put them on the website after we're done, so you can go get them there. So no worries, you don't have to memorize everything that was talked about. They'll be there for you.
There you go.
We
Are there
try.
any
We try to
questions out
help. We
there?
try to make it
We
easy.
do. We do. This is actually a fairly short one this evening because, we could go into medical terminology that would make your head spin and how, most of it is Greek. It actually is Greek. Most of the words are
I
based
couldn't remember
in
if it
the
was
root
Greek
of
or
the word.
Latin. Okay,
It's
Greek.
Greek. Latin. Well, it's Latin. Yes,
Okay.
you are correct. It is Latin. But it's Greek to me. No.
Well, it is Greek. Well, I tell you, because I took Latin in school and I did very well with it, and yet still, when I went into the healthcare thing, it still threw me for a loop, and I spent a lot of time getting familiar with the terminology.
Yeah, it's a dead language most places except for in the medical field. So yeah, there are ways. If you are actually a medical student watching this, there's plenty of things out on the internet to help you
Okay.
finding those Latin root words to help you to recognize different types of terminology. But there's a lot more terminology than just the clinical. There is a whole area of healthcare terminology, and it is around eligibility and billing and getting paid, and that's just as important. And for a BA, that's really where a lot of the projects are. A lot of the You'll be lucky to get on an actual clinical piece of an application because there are nurses and physicians that sort of do that as well. So we have been very fortunate that we work directly with them, and
Yeah.
we were the experts in most of our projects. But for the most part, business analysts, they do work a lot on billing pieces, because a lot of the clinical pieces might be defined. So,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was a lot of billing, it was a lot of reporting, and it was a lot of data exchange between the machines too, because
yeah,
there was a lot of
informatics. There's a
swapping going
tremendous
on.
amount of informatics, right?
But yet,
So,
and every time we've been lucky enough to have, a nurse on our team, we'd be in meetings, and then a term would come up, and we'd all go, "Okay, what was that all about?"
what was that all about?
Got to be just learn
Sometimes
that,
it
and everybody just
happens.
looked for the translation.
That's right. Sometimes it happens at the lunch table, and you really don't know. You don't want to know what that word means, not at all.
Well, yeah,
But
sometimes sometimes it's just interesting because, well, I like words and word history and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, sometimes you don't want to ask too much about it. Not at lunch.
not at lunch.
Over drinks maybe,
Yeah,
but
I'll be learning a brand new. I'm going to be starting a very large project on uh, data billing, data splitting. Actually, is that what it is? Data splitting, I think it is. And it has to do with actual billing and splitting out pharmacy billing. So that should be interesting. So I'll be learning a whole new set of words. So stay tuned, and I'll
see, we're going to
let
be
you know
coming
if
with
I have
all
anything.
fresh stories.
All fresh
I'm storing up a
stories.
few too for future because I'm on a fairly new gig myself too, and oh yeah, lots of stories for you.
Yeah,
Well,
spit
we
billing
try to
projects.
save
That's what
them,
it is.
put them in the right context, not just
We try to put
fling
them
them
in the right
around.
context.
Oh,
There's a lot
hey,
of
Amy
funny
just joined.
things.
Hi, Amy. How you
Hi,
doing?
Amy. How you doing?
So she says that they have nurses on their legal teams too. Never thought about that, but that
Hmm.
makes sense because I'm sure a lot of the cases have to do with medical issues and
Oh yeah,
malpractice and
yeah.
all that kind of good stuff.
Fun
Oh, she
stuff.
she wants to know what data splitting is. Do you know enough about your new project to be able to explain it, or should we wait until after we get
Um,
there?
I know a small amount about it. It's basically hospitals that are in sort of indigent areas, low income areas. There is a federal program that states that pharmaceutical companies for outpatient medications have to give them a discount on outpatient drugs, medications, certain
Oh,
ones. And so, from a hospital perspective, the hospitals have to split that billing from their inpatient medications and their outpatient medications and those people that are eligible. So it's taking that and splitting it out so that when they reorder the drugs, they get that discounted rate. So it's I think it's a
That's kind of
Medicare
complicated.
program. Medicare program, yeah. Yeah, it involves hospitals or facilities. There's certain ones, and it also involves the pharmaceutical, pharmacies that are attached to them. So it's a lot of volume. It's a huge volume. Taking in these file information at point in time. You know, it's not like a daily feed. It's like point
Oh,
in
it's real
time, and
time.
then it's real
Whoa.
time. Well, near real time.
No real. Okay. So
Yeah. So
it's sort of a really more complicated version of what we did about the government phones.
correct. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
So
stories on
it's a
that
good
too.
project. It's got nice little bit of humanitarian stuff going on too. So I like that. So it should be
And your other
interesting.
favorite thing, torrents of data.
And torrents of data. We just pour through that data.
Spray on the fire hose of data and just let her fly.
Yeah. That's it. Sort of like a big jigsaw puzzle, kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question,
Yeah, I'm looking
Amy.
forward to hearing those stories.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. What I can speak of them.
Well, yes, I mean
We shall see.
it'll be wrapped appropriately. So
It'll be
yeah.
right. Yes, wrapped
Have to stay
appropriately.
away from the
But
NDA stuff, the non-disclosure agreements, and you can't get into
yeah, no,
perpetuity
no,
and all that
none of
kind of
that.
stuff.
None of the
But in the broad
specifics.
terms, there will be pieces of stories that we can talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And that's just another example of all the different areas you can get into as a business analyst in the healthcare domain. So that's just one more of them. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Let's see.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Any other comments?
There it is. I forgot I
Oh,
had this working even today. So she's wondering if
is
the
it related
project is
to?
related to unstructured data.
I don't know enough about it to say whether it's unstructured data or not. I mean, typically projects that we've worked on in the past, we took in all types of divergent data, unstructured data, and parsed it appropriately. So I'm assuming that there might be a level of that, but I really don't know yet.
Oh, see, I think we've got her attention on this one. She said that she worked on a few cases for a big hospital chain with whistleblowers and learned all kinds of hospital stuff. I thought
No,
that was
there you
interesting.
go.
See, that's why I love the legal stuff. I'm weird. I would just read the cases because I love all that kind of stuff, all the ins
Yeah,
and the outs and the arguments that go on and the fine points that the whole case can turn on.
right. Well, there's something to be said for actually medical terminology and fraud. I mean, you have to be very, very careful with fraud. I mean, if you have a for example, a billing program that is somehow assigning the wrong procedural codes for something somebody didn't get, and you're submitting that on purpose, that's a big fraud thing.
Not that
So,
anybody would ever do that.
not that anybody would ever do that, but yeah, they do. But yeah,
So here's another one.
interesting.
She loves that you know what
You know
she's
what I'm
talking
talking
about.
about?
See, we know what that's like because there's a lot of situations we get into as BAs and for me in life, where I start talking and I can see people just have no clue and are checking it out. So
Yeah,
yes, it is helpful when people get.
stopping by. And do we have anything else, Kathleen, that we want to say or talk about?
Give me one sec here. I'm just doing a quickie here just to make sure we got everybody up to date. Looks like we are good. So let me bring up our reminder
One
that
more time.
yes, well, people come in and out at different times. I've been watching
They
the
do.
analytics, and people do come in and out, which is I have been told by an expert, several experts actually. So I just want to remind you that you can follow us in all the usual places. Plus, we have our website, thebazone.com. So if you want to make life easy on yourself and you want to get in touch or see what we're up to, that's a good place to go. And one sec, you can
You
also
can
catch
you can
us
catch our
on.
posts. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. And then you can also sign up for the mailing list if you'd like, and you get a little free gift for that, which right now is still the survey tips, because that's a really good thing to use when you're in your requirements gathering stage. But the whole reason to get on the mailing list is so that you'll know what we're doing, what's coming. We put all of the news out to you folks first on the mailing list, and eventually we get around telling everybody else. So you'll always find out about it. But if you want to be in the know, that's the place to go. I'm a poet, and I didn't know it. Sorry, it's getting to be that time of night.
Uh, And Kathleen and I take turns posting on Instagram. Kathleen usually takes the weekends, and I'm usually on during the week. So you can catch our little posts every morning typically, and unless we have something going on, God knows when it'll show up. But it's
Did you
always
see that one I
entertaining.
found over the weekend? I guess I.
Yes, I saw that one. I'm like, why? I just am baffled by that one. I don't know.
couldn't.
You can't bring that up, can you?
I think I can. One second. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I can get it up
It's
here.
just
It
amazing from a
cracked
design
me up.
perspective. From a design perspective, this is what Kathleen is told. If she can
Okay.
find it,
Yeah, I'm gonna
is
bring it up
a
and I'll share
is
it.
a in a playground. This is in a playground
This was in a
somewhere,
playground. Yep.
and it is a
And
slide, right?
it's
And
somebody
there it
else's.
is.
I reposted this.
She
Hopefully you can
reposted it,
see it. But it's
and
an elephant slide, but it is as inappropriately built as you could possibly hope for.
so
And it was one of the things like, I'm sitting around on the weekend and I was actually waiting for somebody and I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on. And I saw this and I'm like, oh, I have to post this right this second. Because this is what happens on projects. If you either, have everybody making, what do they call designed by team. When you do design by team, a lot of times, if the team is too big and the wrong people have input, this is what you end up with. I want to see pictures of the kids coming out of this slide.
oh jeez.
Anyway,
Oh Lord.
I've been meaning to ask Mary if she'd seen it because it made me.
Oh,
I crack up
I
every
saw
time
it.
I look at it.
I was rolling. I was just like, who thought of that one?
So I'll
I
take the
know.
blame. If you see something really weird, usually it's me, and I found something and I'm reposting.
Yeah, she's the queen of reposting. But
Well, it's too funny. Yes, an architect with a sense of humor or
with a
no
definite
clue.
sense of humor. Or
I
no
think you're giving
clue.
him credit there, Amy.
My goodness.
If you don't laugh every day, then what was the point?
It's what is the point? All right, everyone. Well, again, thanks for joining, and don't forget to catch us next Tuesday, same time, same place. And we're going to continue with the BA in the healthcare domain.
Yep.
And
And if
I
you have
quite
any
frankly can't
questions, if
remember.
there's anything in particular you want us to cover on this topic or something else, don't be shy. Just let us know, and we're happy to jump in and cover it for you.
Yeah, we'll do a show. Absolutely, we'll do a show
Yep.
on it if it's
That's where all the
if
good
it's big
ideas
enough.
come from. Real
That's
life.
right.
Or an
Okay,
elephant
everyone.
slide. Bye.
Good night, everybody.